Hello, 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 four of you who are there. Good job. Okay, so real quickly, if somebody could write in the little chat area, which is that way, I guess, that you can see and hear me. That's all I need. Here, I'll type a little thing in here. Can you see and hear me? Perfect. Thank you. Okay, first and foremost, today, this thing right here, I was mucking around with my kids and I got knocked in the lip. So apologies. It's like a thing. It's like a blood blister thing. It's not attractive. I'm not saying that at all. Okay. So anybody who has questions, just knock them down in that chat room. I will post them, broadcast them for everybody to see. So if you're just joining us for the first time, or me for the first time in your program, you type your questions in there. They show up in the chat area, and then I broadcast them and answer them. Again, these are all archived for all members to watch whenever, forever. They're all there in your Q&As in your member page. Okay? So, questions for anybody? Otherwise, I'm going to chat a little bit about choice today and have a little discussion about that. So why don't I start with that, and then you guys can fire a question away whenever you feel moved to do so. What I mean by choice, I think I have done a extras video on this too, is a lot of the work that a small stepper does is to turn things that our perception of those things as just what I do. I can't help it. I could never do this. I'll never be able to. It's just how it's always been. We put these comments into question. We put this messaging into question. And I argue that even if you continue the same behavior, but you say, I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it as a choice, I think that that's overall stress reducing. And this is why this is such a bigger picture than just food could ever be for anybody, because this is you, sorry to sound trite, but taking ownership of what you do. I always tease on the podcast this whole idea of, I could never give up cheese. I would rather say somebody, yeah, I could give it up. I really like it and I don't want to. And that's a place of power. From that place, if you start to really incorporate that in all things, then if you ever decide to make a change to improve your health and happiness in whatever way you do, you're much better equipped to do that. That's the point I want to make. So maybe in this live Q&A, or at least this week while you guys are tooling around on this, and anybody listening to this later, and this is a great place to journal, by the way. If you haven't done a journal step, maybe I'm not telling you what steps to do, but maybe investigate a little journal step, like 2 minutes a day or 1 minute a day, or start with one word and build it up from there. But journaling is a great way to find these things out. But ask yourself, are there places where you have said or thought, oh, I could never do that. I could never do an ultra marathon. I could never, things that seem kind of wild in a way. And you most likely, in most cases, you probably could do the things that you say. Of course, are there impossible things? Sure. I can't sprint up Mount Everest, but I could climb Mount Everest. I think I could. I mean, I really think I could. Do I want to take the time it takes to get to that point where I climb Mount Everest? Not right now. And I'd rather be like, yeah, I could try that. I could get into that if I wanted to, but right now it's not fitting in my life. That goes for changes of diet as well. I could give up cheese. I just don't want to right now. If I choose to at some point, I will do what it takes to do that thing. I am square and dead set against us lowering the bar for ourselves. And I'm just about to do one of my YouTube videos on this very subject, because I think it's a better model and a more successful life can be had if you say, I'm going to raise the bar high, knowing that I may never meet it. And I think that's a way better way to live than say, I'm going to lower my bar and meet it every time. And I think that we do this in the modern world so quickly. I can never. That's just how it's always been. Well, that's what I've always done. I'm a binger. That's what I do. It's my thing. And I think we do that because it's a safe place. It's an understood place. We get it. We get it because we're familiar with it, because we've been living with this for our whole lives, sometimes 50 years or whatever. And I think if we say, I'm actually not a binger, that's a weird place, because we think, well, if I say that and then I keep binging, I'm a failure. And that's why I keep bringing up failure all the time, because I think failure is not engaging in your life. I think failure is trying to push through something and draining your willpower and failing because you're not setting yourself up for success. That to me is failure. Failure is not setting a bar high and living your life trying to meet that bar. That is ultimate success, even if you never hit that bar, which in most cases you probably won't. I know I don't. But I'd rather live the way that I kind of shoot up most of the time, instead of just, yeah, that's just who I am. That's not what small steppers do. Who we are is who we are. And when we agree on that in our own minds, we understand, and this is why this is, again, a 12-week thing for you to sort of flush these ideas out to then carry them on to the rest of your life, is that as soon as you set your bar or understand who you truly are, you are also equipped to understand right then that it doesn't mean you have to be that person, or that you're going to be able to be that person every day, but you're going to freaking try. And that is what brings you into your life in a more fulfilling way. So I was just thinking about that too, this kind of idea of choice. I hear it all the time, and it bothers me. I think it's what prohibits people from growing in their lives, is this idea that we just kind of accept what we've always been doing as who we are. And I don't believe that to be true. So on that note, pinkies up on the espresso. Somebody asked me yesterday at the inn, why do you put your pinky up? And I was like, because I'm a freaking royalty. That's why. The king of small stepperdom. That's the worst kingdom. And we don't own a lot of land. I'll put it that way. All right, you guys, come on. There's 5 of you here. There was 13 or 14 who signed up. So we might get some people joining us, but I know there's some questions out there. Come on, give it to me. Small steps, questions. Some people are in the video where I talk heavy box and light box, mental and physical nutrition. Some people are in the second task area. Some people are staring at this thing and literally can't type because you're just like, that, I can't, it's too distracting. And that's okay too. I'm accepting of all people in this live Q&A. Come on, Michelle, Anita, and Elizabeth, and whoever else is in this room. Come on. I don't hear any typing. This is going to be the shortest Q&A session we've had if somebody doesn't bust into a question. Somebody, come on, give it to me. There we go. Woo! Oh my gosh, Anita, you almost gave me a heart attack by not doing but you did it. I am what? Okay, here we go. So let me broadcast this up for people. Broadcast comment to my room. I'm wondering how to handle stress in relation to my small steps. Okay, so this is a very good question. And I think what you're getting at is that some of your... Okay, so this is a two-parter. Thank you, Anita, for clarifying. I'm wondering how to handle stress in relation to my steps. Okay, I'm going to take this down and I'm going to put her second part, and then Michelle, I'll get to yours after. I've had some non-standard weeks and my great steps list is falling apart. First, what I'm going to tell you is it's probably not falling apart. What you are feeling is the ebb and flow of this process. And what I've said 1,000 times, and I'm going to say it again, and because you may not have heard it, because I don't know if you were here before, I think you were, but non-standard weeks, that's typical of life. Travel is a perfect example. And what I say every time is, thanks, Michelle. I feel like I've fallen off the wagon past 2 weeks due to life-changing craziness. That's what Michelle says too. Okay, this is called life. This is called life. And this is what happens if you're on a diet and these non-standard week happens, you don't go back to the diet. If you're on a training plan or a exercise routine and these non-standard weeks happen, you never get back to it. I was doing so well and then it fell apart, and then this is amazing because this is exactly why you're in this program. You are not falling off the wagon. There is no wagon. There is an adjustment that is necessary time and time again for the rest of your life, which is that if life happens and things get shaken up, you bring back your steps list back into a reasonable area and then reemerge when you are ready. What I recommend is you take your full steps list and sort of set it aside. But before you set it aside, you grab it and you go, okay, I'm going to take this step off, this step, because I can do that 2 deep breaths in the morning, 2 at night. I can do 1 minute of squats in the morning. I can take that one off, and 1 minute of journaling. The rest of the 9 is just, my life is just absolutely insane right now. I cannot do the 6-mile run that was a step on my list. right now because of the way I can do it later. I'll bring that back later. But right now I've got to pick and choose the ones that keep me engaged in my life until things kind of resettle. I'm going to say this one more time. To expect that we are not going to live in a world that things happen we didn't expect is unreasonable. The reason why I'm so passionate about this program is because this accounts for that very thing. This is not a diet that says, do this on day 7, because day 7, I don't know what's going to happen to you on day 7. I don't know what's going to happen to you on day 7. When I trained for my first ultra marathon, I worked with a coach for a few days, like 2 months. And the reason I did that is because I had no idea what an ultra marathon was. But I also knew that I didn't want to do a training plan out of a book. Why? Because I'm busy and I have a tendency to militancy on those things. And I wanted this process to be good for me in a successful, happy making way. And one of the things I really liked about it is that if I had something going on, like all of a sudden, and this actually happened, I had a speaking gig in Wisconsin. And so I let the coach know, I said, listen, I'm going to be on the road. I'm going to be flying these days and travel, and I'm going to be speaking. And he goes, okay, cool. Let me readjust your training plan for that week. That's what this is. It's just that you don't have I'm not giving, you're your own coach. I'm giving you the guidance of how to do this. But you are the ones that say, okay, in this week, I can't do the things that I was always doing. I say, set it aside, do an interim list, or understand that it is truly about what you do most of the time, and don't sweat 1 or 2 weeks because you get right back to it. But if you get back to it after your 2 weeks of nutty nut, and you're stressed by the steps and it seems overwhelming, diets, you would go, small steps, bring that steps list down. And if you've got to bring it down to 1 step a day, that's what you do, because that's how you stay in this for the rest of your life. You go back to 1 step a day of 2 deep breaths, because everybody listening to this can do that. Nope. I don't need to know what your schedules are to know that you can do 3 deep breaths in the morning and 3 deep breaths at night. I know 100% of people that follow this program can do that. And if that's your step, because you can do that with no stress, then fantastic. And if there are stress associated with your steps, you're going to burn out. Like significant stress, like, oh man, I don't have time. It's 9 o'clock at night and I'm supposed to jump on a trampoline for 3 minutes. I'm dreading that. Toss it. Jump for 15 seconds, because it keeps you on the trampoline every day. It keeps you owning and keep being in control of your life. This is why I started this Q&A with my little diatribe about choice, because too fast we go, I can't do it. Sure you can. You just may not be able to do the things that you were doing right before. So fine, readjust it down. But don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Well, I had a rough week, so my life, forget it. I'm just going to throw my life away. No, small steppers go, no, you don't get to take all of me. You get to take a little more of my attention this week, but I'm not letting you have all of it. I'm going to keep some things that I can do no matter what. So that's my answer. This is a great question, because this will happen forever and ever as long as this program is alive, because this is life. This is my life. When I was playing music and then I started traveling, I did some more speaking gigs over the last couple months. My music step has kind of fallen off. So I lowered it back down to stay engaged in the process so that I don't lose music altogether and it falls completely off my radar. I want to keep it on my radar. And then, so it's kind of hanging out there. And then when I can bring it back in, I bring it back in. So that's how that goes. Great question. Because every small stepper, whoever does this and who I've ever worked with, has the exact same thing happen, because they're living life in the modern world. That is what they're doing. And I would rather prevent somebody from feeling like a failure because they're trying to do too much and barrel through when all of a sudden their job changes or they have some crazy thing. It's what it is. Okay. Thank you for that, Michelle. And I will get to Elizabeth in 1 second. I will say this. I haven't been necessarily following my steps, but some of the mental training is still with me. Okay. I'm beating myself up less and find myself stealing moments, even if just for a deep breath and more aware of the me, not me. Fantastic. But, and no real but, that's fantastic. However, it's like the fancier way of saying but, I do believe it is important in the self-messaging of I'm accomplishing these things every day. What I don't want you to do is say, I haven't been following my steps. That means your steps are too big. I mean, this is what I'm talking about here. This is why this thing lasts 12. I can conceptually explain my small steps approach in an hour. I can tell you all the nitty gritty about it. But the reason why this program is 12 weeks is because you understand it, but then all of a sudden you're like, I haven't been necessarily following my steps. Well, that's the deal. You've got to understand how to bring that back down to a steps list that is manageable. Is that easier said than done? Oh yeah, because everybody thinks once I've got 15 steps, I have to continue building. I have to continue growing the steps. I can't go backwards, but sometimes you have to go backwards to stay engaged. So Michelle, this is a very, very excellent time for you to lower your steps list. Have fun with this in this 12 weeks. This is not about getting to a certain scale weight or anything during this 12 weeks. It's learning the system. So for fun, humor me on this, Michelle. Clear your put that steps list aside that you have now and recreate an interim steps list that is like 1 or 2 steps so that every day you go, yes, I did my steps list. Yes, I did the steps on my steps list. Yes, I did the steps on my steps list. No problem. You get back to baseline and then re-engage. That's how you do it. Okay. So please do that for just as a personal favor to me. Clear it off so that you are not only beating yourself up less and stealing moments like you are, but you're also engaged in your steps list and following the steps on your steps list because it is completely manageable and keeping you engaged in the system of having a physical steps list and working with that. I want everybody to get in the habit of working with a physical steps list. So the system doesn't work if you have a steps list that you don't read, that you don't look at. And I'm so happy that you're not beating. I mean, these are the ancillary effects that come with this process is you don't beat yourself up as much and you do learn how to steal moments. But part of the system also is maintaining a steps list that is manageable and that you accomplish every day. So you just get used to accomplishing. Yeah, I do what I do. That's what I do. So Michelle, thank you so much for this thing. And just make it so simple that, yeah, I did it. I did this today. Life doesn't get my life. This out here doesn't get me. And it tanks me sometimes, and I don't give in. I go, no, I'm going to re-engage. I'm going to redo my step list so that I stay in this process, period. Nobody gets to take that away from you guys. Nobody. And I want you to learn this in 12 weeks so that you can just bust on through for the rest of, whatever. I was just cutting onions and on my nose. I'm making red beans and rice, you guys. It's my favorite thing. Elizabeth. I got some alarming test results yesterday, cholesterol and blood sugar related, which makes me feel more urgency around my health. Great. How do I step up the steps now without causing too much stress? Okay. Woo! This is so exciting. Not that you have high cholesterol. I'm not excited about that. I'm not, clapping at the high blood sugar. One of the extras videos was on this idea of the most common misconception about my small steps approach. So Elizabeth, thank you, because this is exactly what I'm talking about here. I have had clients more than once who come to me because they have had cancer or have cancer, have diabetes, have rheumatoid arthritis, have Hashimoto's thyroiditis. They are ready for a change big time. They are ready. And that means this, the most common misconception about my step list, and again, I'm going to be a broken record here, but why this thing lasts 12 weeks is because we can have these conversations, which is not everybody's steps are the same. And that we have this idea when we hear the word small steps, yeah, okay, maybe I could have framed it differently, but hear me out. A small step, as I define it, is a step that you add into your life that is right in that pocket of adaptive stress, not too much stress and not too little. What that means is that given and how small steppers, we look at the entirety of our lives and we assess our lives when we decide on any step, we look at everything. We don't go, I want to lose weight, so just everything is in diet and food from now on at the expense of all of our lives and our social lives and our marriages. We say, let me consider the entirety of my life. Let me consider this. And okay, now let me put a step in that fits well, that keeps me moving. But if you get alarming blood tests and you all of a sudden go, holy crap, I'm really concerned, that means that your step may be way bigger. Your small step may be way bigger than somebody else who goes, yeah, I want to lose some weight. I'm not like super stressed about it, but I just, I kind of want to like get myself in physical fitness. I want to maybe do a run. And so I'm going to start with like a side salad with dinner 4 days a week. That's their small step. But Elizabeth, the fact is you could, if you are in this place, and the beauty of this process is you get to know yourself really well. And If you make a bad call and take on too much, again, you have the training within this 12 weeks. You will have the training to back it back down and say, yeah, oops, took on too much. Let me back it back down. But let me tell you something, Elizabeth, you may be ready for a stark change, a pretty darn stark change. And if it still falls in that adaptive stress area, that's your small step because it's not too much. I'm concerned with people taking on too much and not having the training to know when to back it back down and know themselves enough to say, oops, I took on too much and barrel through because trust me, cholesterol is a stress response. Blood sugar, high blood sugar is a stress response. These are a body out of balance. And I don't want to add more stress. But you might in your life say, it's time. I mean, I've had clients come to me who are like, can you just tell me what to eat? Because I'm freaking over yo-yo dieting. I am done and done. I'm tired of feeling this way. And I do not want to feel this way anymore. And so then we can work with steps that are comparatively larger than other people's steps. And they're like, yeah, I'm going to do fruit in the morning for 5 days a week. And they're not stressed by that. And so that's what they do. And other people do fruit in the morning 1 day a week or 1 day a month, whatever it is to begin that process of building. The last thing I'll say is, even if you don't want to take on a huge small step, you might want to start with something that you think is manageable. And then in a couple of days go, oh, that was too easy. Okay, so that's below the adaptive stress area. So you ramp it up pretty fast. And I've had people go, oh, but that's not a small step. Yes, it is. You're in charge of what you bring into your life. And you're in charge to make it something that is sustainable and doesn't burn you out and cause you extra stress. You're in charge of that, not me. I'm teaching you the system. I'm not telling you what steps to do. I want you to understand your own internal dialogue and what you are looking at when you look at that blood test. And if you're saying in your head, this is of concern to me and I am done, and it is not me who let me get this way. This is not who I am, and I'm tired of not being who I am. I know I'm not going to be perfect, but I'm ready to ramp this baby up. Then you may be completely ready to do a more stark change in your diet. At that point, it is about maybe the research or, look, I did a video on heavy box, light box food. I think, Elizabeth, I think you have my book, if this is the Elizabeth I know, but the first chapter is, you know enough about food. Absolutely know enough about healthy eating right now. Whether you're plant-based or not, doesn't matter. You know enough to start incorporating. So now you've got to craft a step that is about food. And I will tell you, I've had clients very recently who've come to me about food, and food is the last thing that we get to. So Elizabeth, if you have some other steps that you've been kind of working through and you've got a journaling and a deep breath and all these kinds of things, it may be time for you to bust in big on a food step. You may be ready because you've done the work here. You've laid the groundwork that now food isn't going to be a hyper obsessive compulsive about food, but you've kind of got a good baseline of balance in your life. And now you're ready to make food change so that you can stick with it long term. So good. Such a great question. Yeah, so cholesterol, blood sugar. I mean, stress and stress and stress and stress. Blood sugar is a result of high fat. Don't let anybody tell you that diabetes is a carb problem, because it's not. It's a fat problem. And the cells, the fat cells, the insulin can't get that sugar in there, and it stays in the blood sugar. That's how that works. So there are dietary moves you can make, but you make them and add a whole bunch of stress, you'll undo everything you do. Trust me, because you're going to add stress in the process and then burn out and go back to your old ways anyway. So get clear on who you are and how much you want to take on. Throw the spaghetti on the wall, see if it sticks. Worst case is you took on too much, back down. But small steppers don't say, oh, well, forget it then. I'll just start back to eating fried chicken before because I failed. No, trial and error, and onwards and upwards. Okay, thank you. You're welcome, Elizabeth. And you guys, the courage of you coming in and putting these things out there is, you have no idea how much this helps other people. You have to understand, we are recording a live Q&A right now that somebody 5 years from now might watch and might go, I'm in that same place, and now I get to hear that answer and I get to apply that to my own life. This is massive stuff, you guys, massive. And all they got to do is brave through this thing. And I think that's actually courageous quite too. I'm seconds from wearing makeup. I mean, literally just because I don't want to, brushing my teeth is painful for me because I have to view that craziness. Okay. And Michelle, you're very welcome as well. I will reeval for this week. Thank you. Just please humor me. Bring that steps list back down, and you come back next week and go, yeah, I took it down to 2 steps and I've done those 2 steps every day. And then what you're going to hear me say is, good. Now, start to build in incrementally, one more step, or build into one of the 2 steps, build up one of those steps and play with this 12 weeks. You'll get used to doing it. And that's more important to me than any actual result. I want you to learn the system so then you're off and running after the 12-week. Dig? Okay. Claire, I don't seem to be able to make daily journaling work. No matter, I can't read. It's this thing is making me a carrot. No matter how small I make the step, is it better to take it off the list? I've been trying to make this a step for months, and at most I do it once a week. Okay. Journaling is this is a thing for me because I had that whole deal happen. So my deal was I think I went over it again. Now I'll rehash because there's new members. And so I wanted to journal. Again, I used to journal all the time. I did my 3 pages, which was the artist way when I lived in Los Angeles and I had a lot of time. Then I wanted to journal after years of not journaling because I remember the usefulness that it had for me. And so I figured 10 minutes a day was easily done, but I didn't for a month, 0. Then I went down 1 minute a day, still didn't do it. Then I went to 1 sentence a day, still didn't do it. Why? Because I would go, oh, I should do my journal. Oh, it's upstairs. I'd get upstairs and I would get distracted, everything else. My solution was to buy a pocket journal that fit in my pocket. That's why it's called a pocket journal, by the way. You heard it here first. And then I moved it down to 1 word. So again, Claire, what I'm guessing is that your journaling step is too big, number 1. And number 2, there's a logistical reality around maybe when you think about journaling, you don't have a journal on you. There's 2 ways to handle that. You don't need a journal if you do 1 word per day. Grab any piece of paper or go to Amazon and spend $5 on a little freaking pocket journal and a pen or pencil and make your step 1 word per day. Literally 1 word per day. Is this going to drive most people crazy? Oh, yeah. I had a client one time. It's like, I don't know which word to write down. I'm like, what are you, Abe Lincoln? Write a word down. Journal. Just pen on paper every day. Pen on paper every day. But here's the big if. If you think journaling would enhance your life and make your life better, nobody has to journal. You can sit for 15 seconds and just think about things. That's a meditation. And that's instead of journaling. You can play the me, not me game for 30 seconds of every day. 30 seconds, start or stopwatch, me, not me. Let's see, I did this today. That was me. That wasn't me. That was me. That wasn't me. And 30 seconds. Boom, move on. You don't have to journal, just like you don't have to exercise. You can move your body around throughout the day. You don't have to go to the gym for 45 minutes or even go for a run for 30. You can build a step of a few squats a few times a day and some deep breaths and you're fine. So again, it's up to us individually to decide, yeah, for me, journaling helps me. I like journaling because it gets whatever's swirling around this craziness onto a page and I can look at it and go, okay, it's not that big of a deal. I thought it was a big deal here. I mean, I wake up in the middle of the night sometimes at 4 a.m. and I've got all this stress. And then I wake up and then I go back to sleep eventually. And then at 7:30, 8, I wake up and I'm totally not stressed by that stuff. It's like the same thing. It's because I'm tired, I'm fatigued, it's the middle of the night, all that kind of thing. So lower your step to a point of, and I'm not exaggerating, a point of ridiculousness. A point of ridiculousness. The last thing I'll say about that, marry your journaling step with an existing habit that you do. This means put your toothbrush on the journal. If you don't want to carry a pocket journal, put your toothbrush on top of your journal. When you go to brush your teeth, and a pen, when you go to brush your teeth, you go, oh, I got to brush my teeth because that's a habit you do every day. You go, I brush, oh, boom, open the journal, write the word journal, close it, brush your teeth. That's how you get it on your radar if it's something that you want to bring into your life. Dig, bring it down to a point of ridiculousness. I'm telling you guys, it's about getting it on your radar. Then you can build it into something that is meaningful, where a month from now and 2 months from now, you're writing enough to actually do the thing that journaling does for you, which is to kind of clarity of thought and all those kinds of things. Thank you for that, Claire. And Elizabeth says, good question, Claire. Don't say that about Claire. It goes right to her head. She's all hoity-toity about that question, and I don't want people to feel good about themselves. That's not why I'm here. I'm kidding. Christmas. Elizabeth, I have the same problem with reading. I just tried to read a paragraph of a novel every day and haven't done it yet, and reading is one of my greatest pleasures of life. So what I'm going to say to you is what I said to Claire. Put that book next to your coffee maker, next to on your steering wheel, in your car. Don't read while you're driving, but if it's there when you get in, you sit and read a paragraph before you drive. There have been some members here who are getting overwhelmed by the daily emails, which, as you know, take 30 seconds to read. It's not that you should be able to read a paragraph. Read a sentence. Well, I'm not going to get into the book enough, and I'm not going to get, we're not there yet. We're not there yet the way that a stalk of celery is not going to give you six-pack abs. We're not there yet. But we are at the point where you want to do something that gives you joy. It isn't going to give you joy yet, but it's going to become a habit that you can build on to the point that it gives you joy. So a paragraph, Elizabeth, may be too big for you. I know that sounds crazy because we have ideas of what we should be able to do. But the fact is you're not doing that. And that's okay. That makes total sense to me. It's a new thing that you haven't been able to fit in your wall of behaviors. You guys know, I think Elizabeth's been in this long enough to know the wall of behaviors. You got to make the tiniest little crack and then wedge your way in to the point that you're reading every day. Put it somewhere where you know you're going to get it. Toothbrush, coffee maker. I don't know what your daily habits are, but I guarantee you there are things that you do every day. Put it in your refrigerator. Put your book in your refrigerator. And when you open your refrigerator to get your whatever out, your creamer for your coffee, there's your book. It's cold, but there's your book. You grab it, 2 sentences, boom. And every day on that steps list, you see what you've done, accomplished every day. Boom, boom, boom. And Elizabeth says, LOL, thanks, won't read while driving. Of course not. But before you start your car in the morning, or when you get in your car at the end of the day, there's your book on your seat. You actually have to pick it up to sit down in your car. So in the parking lot, on your way home, so you're not rushing, you crack that book. And in your book, you read whatever that step is for you that gets you to do it every day, period. Again, we've got to let go of this idea that to make so I'll say this thing again. We have the whole idea of a small step for most people is to get something on your radar long enough for it to be a habit. We have this expectation that if we have an exercise step and we make it 2 squats, well, we want to know right away is how much calories is that 2 squats going to burn? Am I going to be able to climb Mount Everest if I do 2? I want to know what the results are. In the beginning, the 2 squats really aren't about the results of what exercise can give you. The 2 squats are about establishing a habit of exercise in your life every day. And then when you build on that, eventually you get to the point where you're exercising enough to get the benefits of exercise. Food. Well, the stalk of celery, I'm not going to lose weight. I'm not going to get 6-pack abs from a stalk of celery. Sid, that's ridiculous. Yeah, and here's how else you won't do it. If you change your diet overnight, that's too much too soon, do it for 2 weeks and burn out and go back to your old ways. That also will not yield you 6-pack abs. Here's what will. Start a habit of daily eating healthy, however much you can do. Don't worry about calories or what it's doing for your body, because right now it's the habit of it. Then when it's a daily thing like reading, you build into that and you get used to it and it's there like brushing your teeth. Then you can build onto it to the point where you actually are getting the benefit of healthy eating, of exercise, of reading, of journaling, of meditating, or all these kinds of things. We typically start too big and we burn out, or we start too big and we get stressed by the process and it's not fun and we don't get the benefit of it anyway. So again, it's a tough pill to swallow. I get it. Again, let's say it again. That's why I come here every week. And that's why you're in this 12-week program, because it's to the point of ridiculousness sometimes the size of your opening step. It is embarrassing. Just about as embarrassing as it was for me when I was training for my ultra to slow down and run 3 or 4 minutes per mile slower than I had always my whole life. But my whole life, I'd run this same amount and same speed for 40, 35 years. And when I slow down significantly, people are passing me, just passing me, babies crawling faster than I was running. But all of a sudden now I'm running longer and longer, and then my speed eventually comes up again, but I'm doing distances longer. So the whole process can be a little funny and a little ridiculous, but in a good way, because you're having fun with the process. And then all of a sudden 2 months go by and you go, wow, that step is now a habit and I've built on that. And look at the joy it's brought me. I'm feeling better in my life. 2 months, whoop-de-doo. Most diets are done in 2 months and you've gone back to your deal and you've gained your weight back. But not us. 2 months is the beginning. All of a sudden, I've been doing this 2 months. Now I can start building on it and make it a reality in my life enough where I have I get the actual effects of that, whatever that step is. So Don't worry about how much you're retaining in that novel. Don't worry about the meaning of your journal entry. Right now it's pen on paper. Right now it's opening the book. Do that for a few weeks. You'll be surprised how exponential the growth is once you establish it as part of your life. Then all of a sudden, within 2 weeks after that, you're reading for 5 minutes or 10 minutes a day. Now, okay, now we're starting to make a difference, and we're starting to gain that joy you got from reading in the first place. Cool. So thank you, Elizabeth. And Anita says, I want to start reading too. Okay, it's good. So Anita says, I added a music step to my list. Good. I'm relearning the piano. Excellent. I'm in the same, we're eyes on. And I've been interested in learning the guitar. I find myself afraid to work towards it. Good. This is good stuff. But I don't know why. I think I'm a little afraid that I can't do it. Is there a way to small step through fear? Yes. So a few different ways. And this has happened before. Many people I've talked to, clients and otherwise, who've said, yeah, I mean, I want to do yoga, but I'm not good at it. It's like, yeah, because it's yoga and it's a practice, and yoga practitioners and teachers don't know everything about yoga. It is a practice. So Anita, in the safety of this program, and I don't mean safety like you couldn't not be in the program. Of course you can. But in the context of this program, this is a great place to work through the fear of that I can't do it. You don't know until you try. Oh man, that was trite. I know it. But here's what I want to talk about. Your first task. Anita, this is everything on the table now is your first task. I want you to answer me either right here in your head or type it in. Are you somebody who is afraid of trying new things? Forget about how it's been. Forget about how you're feeling. Like, I don't know if I could guitar because I'm not going to be good at it. Are you, if somebody said, Anita, you have no idea what you've been doing every day. You have no idea what your life is like. What is your ideal life? That's the first task. Are you somebody who tries new things and is adventurous? You're not somebody who tries new things and is adventurous on your first task, I mean, in your ideal. Are you ideally somebody who doesn't try things because of fear? Answer. Come on, Anita. Yes, you. Of course you are. Of course you are. You don't feel, I can tell, even though it's typing and not real. I changed the question. Was it a double negative? Sorry. Sorry. You're awesome, Anita. Thanks. Yeah, it's this thing. I'm telling you, it's made me, I'm double negativing all over the place. It's crazy. You are somebody who tries new things. That's who you truly are. The reason why I can tell in your writing, even though it's typing, when you say, I think I'm a little afraid that I can't do it, I know, I was begging the question because I know you're not, you don't feel good about that. You know why you don't feel good about that? Because it ain't you. Otherwise, you'd be like, yeah, that's who I am. I don't try new things, but you do. So this is why I wear a bracelet that says WWID. What would I do? Because I want to remember at any time that I'm like waffling on something, I look down, I go, yeah, I would do this thing. And that's how you build through the fear, is that you put a step in that is not stressful, that's 5 minutes, that isn't enough of a step where you can assess, was I good at that or was I not good at that? Make the step so small that there's no good or bad. You put your hands on a guitar. Of course, nobody's going to be great at 30 seconds of guitar every day. But that's how you continue to act in spite of that fear. I was a singer-songwriter full-time for years. I never was excited to get on stage, I have to tell you. Like, I think I have a fair amount of stage fright. But I did know that it was something that I loved doing once I got on stage, and I knew that it was something I would feel good about after I got off stage. And that's every time. It never went away. Stage fright never went away. I never got used to the fact that I just, oh yeah, that's what I do. I was nervous and just dreading it. And I just would get on stage, and I would just get on stage, and I would just get on stage, no matter what, that fear, because I knew enough about myself to know that it was something that I valued. And this is long before I was even a small stepper. I knew it was something that I wanted to do in my life, and I was not going to let that thing happen, that fear. So Anita, thank you, but you answered that question. You are somebody who tries new things. That's a given. So there's your baseline. And if it's not in your first task, add it in. Remember, first tasks are living documents. Add that in. I am somebody who is not afraid to try new things. I am somebody who is adventurous and explores things and is not hung up on whether I do them well, because I want to get the joy out of doing it. If I was hung up on that, I would never run an ultramarathon, because I'm not a good runner at all. I'm not a good runner. I'm a slow back of the pack, middle to back of the pack runner through and through, period. But I enjoy the process. and I enjoy the accomplishment of that. And as you continue on this process, you too will understand the joy of accomplishment, of trying something new, of not saying, well, I didn't try it because I was afraid I wasn't going to be good at it. You show me somebody who is good at something as soon as they start. Zero. I don't care what your natural ability is. Read Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers book. It's a 10,000 hour thing. Even people who are amazingly prodigious violinists work their butts off and they fail along the way and they stumble and they keep doing it because they have that core in them that says, this is what I do. You guys have the core in you too about what you do. It's your first task. That is the fire in you. And so the more you remind yourself of that first task, the more you do things in spite of the fear that I don't even know where it came from. I'm not a psychotherapist. I don't know where your fear came from. I don't know where my stage fright came from. I do know what I want. And I do know what I wanted at that time. And that's what kept me engaged in that process to great success, not financially, not in record sales, in life. Great success because I look back and I go, that was pretty cool. Just like I look back and look at my ultra marathons and go, wow, I did that in spite of me showing up on that day of my first ultra scared to death. That's how we work through this whole thing. Okay. Thank you. Great question. Elizabeth. What if we have no desire to do something? Yoga is this for me. Yeah, sure. But feel like it would benefit me. I love to walk, jog, and don't love yoga class, but no, it would be good for me. Not out of fear, but lack of desire. Then don't do it. I mean, honestly, like to me, you don't have to. I don't do yoga. Thousands of people, more people don't do yoga than do yoga. That's not scientific. I'm just guessing that to be true. That's one way to do it. If I'm so as a health coach, now I'm sort of talking as a nutritionist health coach. I want people to move their bodies, and I couldn't care less. Wild animals, no wild animals do yoga. I mean, it's not a natural thing that we do. Is it amazing? Sure. Can it be great for you? Absolutely. If you dread it, no, it can't be. So there's one or two ways to do about it. One, don't do it because you don't like it. So walk and jog for the rest of your life. It's amazing. It's incredible. It's natural. You're going to be just fine. Two, start yoga. Sorry, broken record. So small. Learn one sun salutation. And before you do your walk jog, you go through one sun salutation. And that is going to take you about 1 minute. And it's yoga. It is yoga as much as an hour and a half class, substantively, not quantity of time, but of quality. It is actually yoga. And that's a way you can be like, assess. You're like, well, that kind of feels good. It kind of feels good to move my body that way. Like I'll do yoga now and then. I did the Wim Hof program. I was doing yoga every day for 15 weeks and I liked it. Did I keep up with it? No. I like running and walking and doing my integrated exercise better. That's just for me. So again, Elizabeth, it's a great question because again, we are in charge of the things that we do. If you got to the point where for some reason you couldn't run anywhere because you lived in a place where there was just running was not an option, let's say, and you didn't have a trampoline, that maybe at that point you go like, yoga actually kind of cool because I can do it in my house. I flip on a DVD. I mean, my wife does yoga on occasion. She uses a YouTube. People put up free yoga workouts on YouTube and they're amazing. They're like production value is incredible. And you can find them that are 20 minutes or 30 minutes or 40 minutes. And she got to the point where she did it long enough and really liked it, really liked yoga. So the other way to look at that is when you start something that you think might be good for you, start small enough to see if you like it. And if you don't like it, you're in charge. I'm not doing it anymore. Nobody in their right mind can tell you, yeah, to be healthy, you have to do yoga. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you can't be healthy unless you do yoga because there's millions of people who approve you otherwise. So I say do what you love. Small stepping is about ultimately above health is happiness. Above health is happiness. Now, I believe that caring for your body physically too adds to that happiness. That's a thing for me. That's my opinion. But I do believe that this is all about happiness. That's why I'm so hypersensitive about you guys understanding the stress of your steps and being able to be in a place where you can assess that day to day and go, yeah, this is too stressful for me. I don't like yoga. I dread it. But one sun salutation, I could do that. That's kind of cool. It does kind of limber me up a little bit and it gives me a few deep breaths. And then I'm out my door on my walk or jog. Okay, so really great question. Elizabeth, I kind of like that idea. I'll try that. Good, try it. Worst case, and again, we got to grapple with a failure thing. Worst case is you do it for a few weeks and go, yes, it ain't my bag. It ain't my bag. Yoga, and I've practiced yoga for years in Los Angeles. I don't do it anymore. It's not my bag. Why? Because I discovered ultramarathoning, and I love that. I'd rather spend my time doing that because I really like it. And my integrated exercise throughout the day. Okay, we're about to finish up here. We're at 46 minutes, which is great. 45 minutes. Okay. Claire, I have the hardest time in my evening steps. My morning steps go really well, but after work, I don't want to do anything. I feel like I end up wasting time. I'd like to reclaim my evenings for myself, but I feel too tired. But doing nothing doesn't make me happy. Of course not, because we like to act and we like to feel. Here's what we are wired to do less work. Understand that baseline. We are wired to do less work. Technology is a perfect example of our human brains going, can I make this easier on me so I don't have to get up and change the channel on my TV? Yes, I will invent out of thin air a freaking remote that allows me to not get off my couch and walk 7 feet. That's incredible. But our wiring, understand our wiring is when we're tired, we don't want to do stuff. Our bodies will tell us, don't do that. But we have this incredible mind that says, if we can stick with something long enough and make it small enough, our mind says, listen, I know you don't feel like doing that, but if you do, you're going to feel better about it. That is me on so many runs, I can't even tell you, where I don't feel like getting up at 7, but I do on a Saturday because I know with a just about 100% possibility that I'm going to be happy that I did that thing. So, Claire, broken record, your steps are too big if you're dreading them. Your steps are too big if in the evening you're not pulling them off. Does it make sense? Yes, because the whole day has passed now. You've been to work, you've done your morning steps, you've commuted, and you've sat in your office, and your brain is fried. And so you get home and you're like, I don't want to do a step. That makes total sense. That's you and almost every human being in the world. So I had a client once who wanted to do exercise. And so she used to walk long distances. And so she had this prefab idea of what exercise was. And so we made her step 2 minutes on a trampoline. 2 minutes on a trampoline that was in her living room. And this was the success of this is a few times she would get in bed at 11 to go to sleep and realize she hadn't done her exercise. And she told me her words, I didn't go, I went, it's 2 minutes. And so she got out of bed and would jump for 2 minutes and feel better for it. And that's how she got exercise back in. And eventually she started walking again. And eventually she walked a half marathon within like 6 months of the work. So Claire, even though I know you and I know you've been progressing in a really good way, but part of progressing is to not feel like I'm not accomplishing. That is not, to me, not progression. Progression is I'm accomplishing every day. I'm accomplishing a little less now than I was before because I know that if I kept pushing forward, I was going to burn out and feel bad about myself. So I'm going to ramp this back down. Claire, if you have to take your evening steps off your list in the interim, then do that. What you're going to find, though, is that you're probably going to end up doing them anyway. And if you make them small enough, even though you've been doing whatever for this amount of time, ramp it back down, marry it to what you do when you walk in that door, tape a note on your refrigerator that says you can snack on whatever you want, but first spend 5 minutes doing XYZ. 5 minutes and set your timer. And then you've got your payoff, you've got your accomplishment, and you've got your steps list intact. That's how you negotiate this kind of stuff. It is the struggle of the century with small steppers. Actually, it's not a small stepper struggle. It is a human struggle. We want our happy lives. We want our healthy, vibrant lives. And all I'm saying is we can either try to push, and burn out, and then push, and burn out, and then push, and burn out, or start a steady incline in how we control our lives and how we live our lives in a way that creates happiness along the way and sustainable long term. So yeah, all right. Well, with that, I think I'm gonna hang this up. I don't want these to go too long because the people who watch the archive versions, I don't want them to have to sit next to in front of a thing for like 2 hours. But we're at 50 minutes. You guys are amazing. I will stick here for like 1 more minute, 1.5 more minutes. If there's any last minute questions, I'll bang them. Otherwise, if you guys are ready to roll, then enjoy the rest of your weekend. Sorry about this. I hope this doesn't give you nightmares tonight. I'm so sorry. Like if you guys wake up at 2 in.the morning and you're just, oh my gosh, the thing I saw, it was shocking. It's like watching the movie It. Just send me a support@smallsteppers.com email. I'll give you a full refund on everything. I feel horrible about this. Horrible. Last minute. Any other thanks, bye, Elizabeth. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. Anything else? Any other last minute? It's gonna anything? It's barely knows. Not to me, but thanks. Anything else? Any other? Thanks, Anita. You guys are awesome. Great questions this time. Super great. As always, I mean, it's incredible. All right, I'm hanging up, you guys. Have a great weekend, and I will see you next week at the live Q&A. Keep on small stepping. Keep taking deep breaths. All right.